Welcome back, warriors of the Imperium. I'm Winx, and today we're breaking down the tactical marine, the adaptable backbone of the Space Marine legions, from the disciplined Ultramarines to the ruthless Sons of Horus. These warriors shaped the art of war. In Space Marine 2, it's your turn to master these tactics, and I'm gonna show you how, so let's get it. Before we jump into the action, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, that way you never miss out on any of the content that I drop. Also, as a housekeeping note before we continue, just keep in mind if you're new to the channel, I've always got timestamps down below, that way you can skip ahead, because I'm not here to hold you up and I know everybody's time is valuable. Today I'm going to be going over my tactical marine build, and I'm going to be covering my weapon choices, my perk tree setup, and then my customization. And while I'm in there talking about my customization, I'm going to give you a little bit of the lore behind that. After it, I'm going to take this build into the battle and demonstrate some of the tactics I use and show you how you can kind of maximize its potential. So let's get it started. So as I said in the beginning, today we're talking about my tactical build. So the first thing we're going to jump into is my loadout selection. So for my primary weapon, my choice was pretty simple. It was the Melta rifle. I'm not going to overcomplicate this, but the thought process here was that the Melta rifle is great for crowd control, and it's pretty decent for single target damage as well. As you can see, I pretty much went for the top row, with the exception of that HP one underneath the Mastercrafted section here. And again, the thought process here going across the top was ammo, damage, armor, damage, ammo, damage, fire rate, fire rate. The three that I want to highlight out of this are, first, the damage one here, Great Might, gives you 10% against the terminus level enemies. Those are those big ones that come into the map and wipe you out. So you're going to need that extra damage. And then the last two are both fire rate increases, which you know as well as I do. The more bullets you can fire, the more damage you can do. So that's pretty much it for my primary. So for my secondary, the choice of weapon was pretty simple. You only get one, but the logic here for the bolt pistol was the exact opposite of the meta rifle. It's just all bottom row. And the overall idea for this was left from right is damage, damage, recoil, damage, ammo, health, ammo, damage, damage. Now the two that really kind of synergize well here are the Iron Grip for reduced recoil and the Headhunter for 10% more damage on heads. So the tighter the shot group, when you're aiming, at the heads, the more damage you can get. So for my choice of melee weapon, again, the choice was pretty easy considering you only get one. The logic and thought process behind this was the same as the secondary. It's all bottom row. And from left to right, it's damage, health, damage, damage, damage specific to Tyrannid. So depending on which map you're playing, you may want to switch between these two. But then it's damage, 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 defense. So as my character's perks, this is what I go with. So I have the Kraken Penetrator rounds to do more damage through multiple enemies with my secondary. Then I have heightened vigor, so as I'm dodging and parrying, I can do more damage. This one is key, Emperor's Vengeance. Every time I kill a Majoris enemy, my primary weapons ammo is increased. This is essential on the higher difficulty settings where ammo is very sparse. Then I have for my team, I have range damage increased with aligned aim. Then I have priority targeting, so I can last longer with my ability. And then I have battle focused, which a perfectly timed parry or block gives an enemy a mark, which thus increases damage. Then I have expert timing. Enemies marked with Auspex scan take more damage. And then I have my signature, which is marked for death. So every time I mark an enemy with my ability, the Auspex scan, I can shoot them in the head and instantly kill them every 120 seconds. So now for my customization and the color palette that I chose, and kind of diving a little bit into the lore here. So I went with I tried to go with a Guardians of the Covenant look, which is not a look that is a part of this game currently, but you can find it on page 19 of the Dark Angels Codex and get some of the lore from that. A lot of these DLC templates that you get here, these color palettes like the Angels of Absolution and the Angels of Redemption, a lot of these came straight out of that codex. So that's kind of what I went with, was one that wasn't listed which was the Guardians of the Covenant. So if you read the Codex, that's kind of how I've based this design off of, with a little bit of variation. The developers of the game didn't allow a lot of creative freedom like you would expect with the tabletop game, but I kind of designed my build here the way it looks after the Guardians of the Covenant. The only thing I wasn't able to do was place this unit insignia on the shoulder guard up here where the Dark Angels is shown, but their symbol is these double cross swords right here that would go here. But I got the company symbol right here, and then the squad symbol right here. So if you read that Dark Angels Codex, 5 out of the 9 that are shown on this page came straight copy and paste out of that codex. The ones that you can find in that codex are Angels of Absolution, Angels of Redemption, Angels of Vengeance, then you've got Blades of Vengeance, and then you've got the Angels of Defiance. The only ones that I couldn't find in that codex, I still don't know exactly where they got these from. Maybe some of my viewers can comment below and tell me where these came from, but the unnamed, the Cowled Wardens, and the Bringers of Judgment I could not find in the Codex. And when you click on one of these, like for example the Angels of Absolution, you know, when we're talking about the lore, this description is almost literally copy and paste out of that codex, and you could say the same for most of these, if not all. Alright guys, so now I'm going to do like I said I would earlier, and I'm going to go through one of these maps and show you kind of how I'm using this build and kind of talk you through it. I am not going to set this to the hardest difficulty, which is, I believe, absolute. I'm not going to do that, although I have done all these maps on that. It is not productive to what I'm trying to show you. It can be done, but I'm not going to do it because I have to be able to focus on playing the game, and I'm also running in private mode with bots, and they are basically worthless on these higher difficulties. You need a human team to run through on these higher difficulties. But for the purpose of demonstrating this build and kind of the strategies and tactics I'm going to be using, I'm just going to run through on Ruthless and show you, kind of talk you through it, multitask as we're going through it. Tactic 1, save grenades for bigger groups for more casualties. Tactic 2, never let an enemy call for reinforcements, ever. Tactic 3, with the meltagun, always aim in a way that hits the most enemies. Tactic 4, counter even when there's no indicator to counter. The more you do this, the more you'll see the battle focus at play. Once you have mastered parrying, then use a pistol strike immediately after parrying for that 1-2 combo damage, bringing heightened vigor into the process. Truthfully, it's the Majoris enemies that wear you down the fastest when they get in large groups, so this setup helps to wear them down quicker. Just make sure you've got your melee weapon set up to the balance type and not block. Another nice little tactic you can use is using that marked for death perk that you have and using your scan to scan an enemy and then get a headshot off of them to instantly kill them. When the process is done and you've mastered these couple techniques, then the full process is going to look like this. So with that being said, that brings us to the end of the video, guys. So in summary, what we talked about was the weapons and their perks. I went over my character perk tree. I gave you some lore and kind of showed you my customization that I did and the armor. And then I showed you some Battlefield tactics that were real time. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. Again, like and subscribe and share the video with somebody else if you thought it was educational. And once again, winks out.